Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this session, we are going to look at 10 common interview questions that you can expect as part of the AWS CloudWatch service. Now, in AWS, whenever we talk about your monitoring, CloudWatch is a service that we have, and this is a service that is very commonly used whenever we talk about monitoring. And this is one of the service where you can definitely expect some interview questions. So here I'll be covering 10 very common questions that you can expect as part of your interview. Once again, before I start off with the session, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So the first question we have is, what is AWS CloudWatch and what purpose does it serve? So basically understanding what's the whole point of having this CloudWatch service. So like I said, CloudWatch is your monitoring service. So in AWS, whenever we talk about monitoring, CloudWatch is a service that we have. So we can use this for monitoring and for observability for your different resources you have. So this provides us with real-time insights into your AWS resources, the applications that we are running on AWS, and then the various services that we have in AWS. So we can use this to monitor your performance of your applications, the system performance, CPU utilization, network performance, all those metrics can be monitored. So this service, it helps us to collect different metrics. It helps us to capture the logs of your applications that you're running. It also helps us to set up alarms which can be used to monitor a particular metric and then take some action if the threshold is breached. So that's basically what your CloudWatch service is. So it helps you to monitor your resources on the AWS platform. The next question we have is, how can you collect custom metrics in AWS CloudWatch? So CloudWatch, it helps us to collect the custom metrics. So we can either make use of your AWS CLI, we can run the CLI commands, we can make use of your SDKs or the CloudWatch API, which can be used to publish the data to custom or point to a custom namespace. So it helps us to capture your custom metrics. So there are different ways that you can do it. So if you're comfortable with the AWS CLI, you can use that. Or if you want to use AWS SDKs, you can do that. Or your CloudWatch also provides you APIs that you can use to capture your custom metrics. The next question we have is, explain the difference between basic monitoring and detailed monitoring in CloudWatch. So in CloudWatch, whenever we talk about your monitoring, we have two types of monitoring. So we have the basic monitoring and then we have the detailed monitoring. Now, the basic monitoring, it falls under the free chart. So you don't have to pay any money for this. So this is enabled by default. So any resources that you are running, let's say for example an EC2 instance, your basic monitoring is enabled by default, but your detailed monitoring is chargeable. You'll have to pay money for that. Now that's one difference you have. The other difference you have is, with your basic monitoring, you get a 5-minute frequency. So the metric gets refreshed every 5 minutes. Whereas with your detailed monitoring, it gets refreshed every 1 minute. So that's where you'll have to pay money for that. Now, when do we use your detailed monitoring? So when your application has a rapidly changing resource utilization. So within a minute or within few seconds, your resource utilization keep changing and you want to keep a track of that. That's where you can go with your detailed monitoring. If not, your basic monitoring is enabled. For example, let's say I'll go to my EC2 service, and if I have an EC2 instance running, so let's say if I go here, and you will see I have an instance running over here, and for this your monitoring will be enabled by default. So this is enabled by default, the basic monitoring. You don't have to do anything, but if you want the detailed monitoring, you'll have to explicitly enable that. So here you can see how the CPU utilization, your disk reads, disk writes, network utilization. So all these metrics will be available for you from this basic monitoring. Now, like I said, with this basic monitoring, this resource utilization, this gets refreshed every 5 minutes. So if you want this to reduce the frequency, that's where you can go with your detailed monitoring. Next question we have is, what's the significance of CloudWatch alarms? Now, CloudWatch alarms is a very important option that we have. So we can use this to monitor a single metric over a time period. Let's say, for example, you want to monitor the CPU utilization of your servers. and whenever it goes above a certain percentage, you want to take some action. For that, you can make use of your CloudWatch alarm. So this helps you to perform certain actions based on the conditions that you have defined. So the actions can include sending notifications, so just a simple notification step by making use of the SNS service, like, hey, the CPU utilization has increased for so and so server. Or you can use it to stop your instances or terminate your instances or run your auto scaling policy. So for any of these purpose, we can make use of your CloudWatch alarm. So under this, you will be going to the alarms and you'll have to create an alarm for this as to which metric you want to monitor. So let's say you want to monitor your CPU utilization, or you want to monitor your billing alarm, like the cost for your AWS account. Everything can be done by making use of your CloudWatch alarm. The next question we have is, how can you create a metric filter in CloudWatch logs? So to create a metric filter in CloudWatch logs, you will need to have a filter pattern, you will need to have a log group, and then you can have a metric name. So essentially what you'll be doing with this is, you can go to your logs, and so you'll need to have a log groups for this. Once you have the log groups, you have the option of creating a metric for that, basically filtering out. So the log groups by default will show you all the logs. Now if you want to filter that, if you want only certain information from these log groups, that's where you can make use of your metric filter. So this allows you to extract information from CloudWatch events and then turn them into CloudWatch metrics. So essentially the logs, you can turn them into your metrics by making use of your metrics filter. The next question we have is, what is the purpose of CloudWatch events? Now, CloudWatch events helps you to monitor any state changes in your AWS resources. So when I say state changes, it could be starting an instance, stopping an instance, or creating an S3 bucket. So any changes you want, if you want to monitor that, you can make use of your CloudWatch events for that. So with this, you can schedule automated actions like starting certain instances, stopping certain instances. All those things can be done with your CloudWatch event. So if you go to these events, you can go to rules and you'll be creating a rule. So basically, which event do you want to monitor? And then likewise, you can also define action for that. So here you can see there are a couple of rules that I've created. So one is to trigger a Lambda function. So you can create a rule, give it a name, a description, and then when do you want to run this? So do you want to run this on a pattern, or you want to schedule this? You can define that, and then you can define the pattern as to which event do you want to monitor. So let's say I want to monitor my S3 bucket. Okay, so you want to monitor via the CloudTrail, or these are the various options you have. So object created, object deleted, so all these options. So let's say CloudTrail, and then under this again you have the option of specifying what exactly you want to monitor. All right, so here this is a sample that you have. This is where you can create your event pattern. So let's say S3 is what we are looking for. Within the S3, what do you want to monitor? So let's say CloudTrail, and then any specific operations that you're looking for. So maybe let's say create bucket or delete bucket. So all those events can be monitored, and in the next step you have the option of specifying your action. So whenever this event takes place, what do you want to do? You can define that. So that's where you can make use of your CloudWatch events. Next question we have is, how can you integrate CloudWatch with Lambda functions? Now, we know that CloudWatch can be used for monitoring purpose, and then we have Lambda, which is your serverless computing. Now, how do you integrate this? Now, if you want to integrate your CloudWatch with Lambda, we can create a rule in your CloudWatch events which will trigger your Lambda function. So this allows you to execute your Lambda functions in response to CloudWatch events. So let's say, for example, again, taking the same example, now let's say any operation that happens in my S3 bucket, I want to, so what do you want to do? So select the target. So in my case, it will be a Lambda function, and then you can specify which function you want to execute. Now I don't have a function, but if you have written a function, you should be able to choose that. For example, you can see this. I guess, let's see. Yeah, so you can see here the target. So this is the function that I'm calling. So the event pattern. So again, this is for the S3 bucket, which is to create. So whenever a bucket gets created in my S3 bucket, I want to trigger a Lambda function, and whatever the code we have written in that Lambda function, that will get executed. So that's how we can integrate your CloudWatch with Lambda by making use of a CloudWatch events. We can trigger your Lambda functions. The next question we have is, what is CloudWatch Logs Insights and how does it help in log analysis? Now, CloudWatch Log Insights can be used for searching and analyzing your log data. So let's say you have your log groups. Now, if you want to search that data, the log data, and if you want to analyze that log data, we can make use of your log insights for that. So if you go to your CloudWatch service, you should be able to see this log insights, and this is like running a query on the CloudWatch log. So you can select the log group. So let's say, for example, this particular log group, and then the query, what query you want to run. So this is a example query we have. So I'll just run this query and I should be able to see the log. So as of now, I don't have any data, but let's say I'll put this for maybe for 12 weeks, maybe. Let me try that, and hopefully I'll have some output. No, I don't have it. So if you have logs within that particular log group, you should be able to see the output over here. So that's where we can make use of your log insight. So it's mainly used for searching your log data, analyzing the log data, and it also allows you to interactively search and analyze your log data to gain insights quickly. It supports complex queries, provides visualizations to understand your log pattern. So it also has this visualization which helps you to visualize your data. So there are different features that are available. So this is essentially, we can take a log group and we can start querying that log group to maybe filter certain information from that particular log group. That can be done. Next question we have is, how can you enable detailed CloudWatch monitoring for an EC2 instance? Now, I told you that by default, your basic monitoring is enabled. Now, if you want to enable detailed monitoring for an EC2 instance, that can be enabled either from your console or from your CLI or from your SDKs. Now, if you're on the console and if you go to that particular EC2 instance, on the right hand side here, you can see this manage detailed monitoring, and this is where you can enable it. However, please keep in mind that you'll have to pay money. So you can see additional charges apply. So whenever you enable the detailed monitoring, you'll have to pay money for that. If not, when you're launching your EC2 instance, at that time also you can enable it. So you can either enable it during the launch of the EC2 instance, and you can also enable it after the launch of your EC2 instance. So detailed monitoring, you'll have to explicitly enable it. The basic monitoring is enabled by default. The next question we have is, explain the concept of CloudWatch dashboards. Now, dashboards are mainly used when you want to create your customizable views for different metrics and logs of your AWS resource. So you can create and share your dashboards to monitor and analyze the performance of your applications and your infrastructure. So when you go back to your CloudWatch, so here you can see the dashboards. So you have the option of creating your own custom dashboard. So let's say I want to monitor my S3 buckets, and you can start filling in the widgets. So you have the option of creating different types of widgets. So you want to monitor your metrics, your logs, your CloudWatch alarms. You have the option of specifying that. So let's say in my case, it's going to be metrics, and this will be your graph type. Next, you can start choosing. So in my case, it's the S3 service, and then storage metrics, and these are the different metrics we have. So with your S3, we get two metrics. One is your bucket size, bytes, and then the number of objects. So you can select it, and you should be able to see the graph, the whatever the graph you have selected, you should be able to see that over here. And then when you click on create widget, it will create a widget for us. Likewise, you can create different widgets. You have the option of sharing this with other people so that they can also have a look at it. But this is where you can make use of your dashboards to create your customizable views for certain metrics that you want to monitor. So that's about the 10 common interview questions that I have for your CloudWatch service. So this is some of the very commonly asked questions that you can definitely expect. That's all I have for this session. Thank you. Once again, before you leave, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you like the video, leave a like and please share the video.